In the spirit of reconciliation, the Gravel Cycling Australia podcast acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today.
This was probably my only win of the day, but probably like literally 5k to go. I was in like a group of 3 and I was basically sitting on the back because I was stuck in that big gear. Just trying to get home, and this guy goes past and he looked pretty quick. And then the people I was riding with asked one of them, I said, "Oh, do you reckon that guy's in the Grand Prix?" And they're like, yeah, he is, yeah. I was like, oh, no way am I going to give up, like, after all this, just let a guy roll away without a fight. So I chased him down and caught him, like, at basically the base of this climb, which is really close. The only climb basically into town. And I had to zigzag up the climb, like zigzag, and he dropped me again, obviously. I zigzag and like literally just made it up without stopping. And then guys wound up the gear because you descend down into town. Just wound up the gear as fast as I could. And I literally just passed him right in the line. And I was going like 20 an hour faster than him.
Good work. You got to finish.
He had no idea what I was even sprinting for. I don't think he would know if it wasn't a series or anything. I was like, oh, that's just one extra point, I guess.
Oh, you got to take everything you can get. Welcome to the Gravel Cycling Australia podcast. Gravel cycling in Australia is booming. From racing to bikepacking to simply getting off the beaten track and exploring the back roads and trails of our outstanding natural landscapes. This accessible subculture is all about community, adventure, and discovering or rediscovering the joy of life on 2 wheels. Join us as we celebrate Australia's gravel cycling scene and discover the locations, explore the events, and meet the people at the heart of the sport. So welcome back to the pod. Got something a bit new for us all today. We're going to be talking top-end gravel racing with one of Australia's most elite gravel cyclists, Tasman Nankervis. So Taz has been an absolute legend since I started this pod. I got chatting with him on Instagram early on, and yeah, he's been a really super approachable, really down-to-earth guy, and you can just tell that despite the fact that he's such an elite bike racer, he's pretty much just like the rest of us, and he just loves riding his bike. So in the chat today, we're going to cover off on Tasman's early career, his recent win at the 7 gravel race over in Nannup in WA. But we're going to spend most of the time hearing about his epic day out at Unbound Gravel over in the States and his plan for the rest of the Lifetime Grand Prix series. So yeah, glad you can join us today and yeah, really enjoyed having a chat with Taz. So we'll bring that chat now. So, Tasman, thanks for joining us on the pod today. So, a lot of our listeners will probably be quite familiar with you, but personally, I first came across you when I went to check my race results after the Great Otway Gravel Grind last year. I loaded up the results. I think I nearly fell off my chair when I saw that this guy named Tasman Nankervis had clocked the 97-kilometre course with 2,200 metres of climbing at an average speed of nearly 38 k's an hour. I thought, geez, that guy can ride a bike. So, do you want to give us a bit of a background into how you got into bike racing?
Yeah, sure. I've been in it for a long time now, really. I'm 27 now, and I started even like under 13s, started doing some road racing locally in Bendigo. Bendigo is such a hub for cycling. And yeah, I played sport all through high school, did footy, basketball up till, secondary college, but I just always rode bikes. My 2 oldest brothers rode bikes and just followed them, and yeah, just slowly progressed into doing less of the other sports, less ball sports, and just picked up bike riding more and more. And yeah, once I got to like under 19 stage, I was doing all the national mountain bike rounds and got into the national mountain bike team like second year under 19s, and from there, yeah, really started pushing my progression. And yeah, went to Europe when I was in under 19s, went to junior worlds, and yeah, just been racing ever since and done a bit of everything really. Mainly always stuck to the mountain bike, but I've always dabbled in road and now gravel more. Kind of giving everything a crack now.
When did gravel racing sort of first come across your radar? Obviously, you've got that big mountain bike background, but gravel's sort of a bit of a newer scene. Do you remember when you first sort of came across gravel?
The Great Otway Gravel Grind was the first gravel race I did. I did it on my hardtail. I think that I won it the first 2 years on my hardtail. Well, at first I was sort of like a marketing thing. I think most people kind of did. And I was like, oh, I won't kick off. It's just like it's just what I do on a mountain bike anyway. I just ride on fire roads and things. But it's definitely found its place now. Yeah, it's probably only been the last 2-3 years where I've done regular gravel racing and riding, and yeah, it's just kicked off massively locally here. We have club gravel races now, and they're getting double the numbers than our road races do. And we've got a weekly gravel bunch now. Every Wednesday morning is a gravel bunch, and yeah, I think the demand's there. Most importantly, it gets people off the road, and you can see more things as well. Just opens up avenues, exploring more, and with less traffic is it's a good thing. And yeah, it's easy access for most people to start as well. Mountain biking can be a little bit intimidating. It's hard to get the road guys across to mountain biking, and then yeah, it's kind of that bridge in between. And mountain bikers like doing the gravel as well. So
yeah, I'm certainly attracted to gravel for all those reasons. Mountain biking. So I'm a late starting sort of cyclist. Didn't get into it until I was well into my adult years, and yeah, the thought of sort of going hard on some single track and doing some jumps was a bit too much for me. So the gravel seemed a bit tamer, but also, away from the traffic and yeah, that adventure side of it, I find really appealing. I think that appeals to a lot of people, and it's kind of nice that you can combine that sort of adventure stuff with racing at the same time. Like some of these races, they go through, pretty awesome places. So yeah, it's great that we get to sort of adventure and be competitive at the same time. You mentioned your brother there. Was it sort of quite a competitive relationship that you had growing up?
I'm the youngest of six kids, so I had a very competitive upbringing. Just from an early age, if you wanted something, you had to fight all my brothers and sisters for it. And then my two oldest brothers both rode bikes. My oldest brother started with downhill and things, and then my parents were like, my next brother, Russell, and I should probably stick to cross country. They were sick of picking him up from the ground after crashes and things and taking him to hospital. So, both Russell and I, have raced together. Kind of done all the same, similar racing as well. We traveled together a lot. We went to Europe, I think 3 years in a row going to Europe, trying to chase the World Cup dream. Like they're under 23s and he's 2 years older than me. We did all that traveling together, and it's pretty competitive, but super easy to have that. And fortunate to have siblings that enjoy the same sport as you. And
it's probably great motivation to get good.
That's it. And you just have that training partner constantly. So it's my brother Russell, he's like the most honest person in the world as well. Like if he thinks if I do a jump bad or a corner bad, he'll be like, geez, you were slow. Like he'll just tell it to me blunt. Some people wouldn't, like if you ride with a friend, they might not say that. They'd be like, bloody hopeless on that section. Like you should work on that. Or it's just real dry and honest, which is it's good feedback. I love it.
Good home truths. Yeah. So bike racing is obviously a huge part of your life, but unlike most sports where if you're sort of as elite as you are at cycling, you'd probably be able to make a decent living off it. But that's not really the case for marathon mountain biking, unfortunately. So what does life look like for you off the bike?
Off the bike, I'm an exercise physiologist. So I got my degree nearly 4 years ago now. I worked in a private practice and then also in a rural hospital as well, town called Kyneton in between Melbourne and Bendigo. I work there currently, and we run like a community health program. We get people in from the community with injuries and chronic illness and exercise them in a gym. Pretty well, kind of like 4 days a week at work doing that. And then I coach riders as well. So kind of got 5 athletes I coach, and a lot of those are, under 23 guys locally in the area. So kind of have 1 day off a week where I try to do my big training day. That's also my coaching day. So keeps it busy, but pretty lucky. My boss at my current job is cyclists, and previously I've had great flexibility in my work roles as well. So any jobs I've gone for, I've been pretty honest saying that I'm going to be away a lot. And when I'm there, I'll be fully focused, but I'm going to be away a bit. And everyone's been really good about that.
It's not sort of nice to hear that even these elite guys are trying to fit their training in around their sort of work life and family life. It's the same story for all of us. I think.
No 2 weeks can be the same sometimes. Just try and get in as much as I can, basically.
So you're joining us at the moment from Colorado over in the States, and we'll get a bit to why you're over there and what you're up to. But before we do, I just wanted to touch on your recent results at the Seven gravel race over in WA that was on a few weeks ago. So Seven's Australia's only UCI Gravel World Series event and will host the UCI Gravel World Champs in 2026. So it's one of the most competitive gravel races in the country, and I think it's fair to say you had a pretty good day out over there.
Yeah, I ended up having a blinder of a day, I guess. Yeah, just had unreal legs, I guess, from the start. I had terrible preparation. Well, the weekend of, I had terrible preparation, but yeah, come race day, there's a course that suited me well, like lots of, probably like 5 minute climbs with steep gradients, just on repeat. Yeah, and I managed to attack with probably 40K to go or so. And got away and won solo. And I think I trained pretty well into that event. Obviously leading into America, it was only 2 weeks beforehand before coming here. Initially, I wasn't going to go because I just can't afford to get to Perth. Basically, I'm investing my time and effort into getting to the US. But I'm certainly glad I went. And yeah, such a great event. I think there was 1,400 people racing. We had international riders there, and some of the best Aussie gravel racers. And yeah, the night before, I flew over on a Thursday. My bike didn't arrive, and I've had it before, and they'll just deliver it to you. And I'm staying, 3 hours south of Perth in Bustleton, and I thought, no stress, whatever. And they said to me, yeah, it'll be delivered Friday morning. It's on the next flight. And Friday morning rolled around, and no bike. It was going to be there at 9. So then I called them up and said, no, it'll be there at 11. Then I called them up and said, no, it'll be there at 2. And I'm like, oh, whatever, I'll still get a pre-race ride in. Won't be too bad. But yeah, 2 o'clock rolled around, and then I called them back and they said, oh, actually, we don't know where your bike is.
Oh, no.
And then they hadn't tagged it, and neither had the toll company. So I was going in between literally Toll, who was delivering it, and Virgin Australia Help Desk, because neither of them could tell me where the bike was. And then in the end, it was just sitting there in the toll depot. It hadn't been processed yet, so it had no tracking number. It's just a bag sitting there, and ended up driving back to Perth that day before the race. Yeah, drove 6 hours return.
Gosh.
Got home at 10 o'clock, built my bike by like 11:30, got up at 4. When I was at the race, race line at 6:30. I was still doing some bolt checks on the start line with a multi-tool. And yeah.
I think that's a great example of what it's like being a privateer gravel racer, right? A lot of people watch, professional road cycling, and there's huge teams, and they've got their huge buses, and the riders, they have everything done for them. They got their massage after the race. Yeah. They've got their mechanics. They've got their chefs. But yeah, a lot of you guys who are racing these gravel events, you've just got to sort of make it up as you go and get everything done by yourself. So I think that story, that makes it even more impressive. You say you had a good day and you managed to win solo. I think you won by nearly 8 minutes over the rest of the really high quality field. Yeah. So I think you're being a bit humble there. Mm. I was checking out, I think Jethro Nagel over at the Press Room podcast put together a great highlights package. So if anyone's interested, jump on his YouTube and you can see some coverage from the day. As I was watching that video, I was just thinking to myself how scenic it looked out there. Lovely sort of environment. And do you sort of get a chance to enjoy the landscapes that you race through? I know a lot of you hear a lot of professional road cyclists say that they've watched the Tour de France after they retire and they go, wow, it's quite nice. But while I was racing, I didn't see any of it because I was just watching the wheel in front of me. Yeah. Is that sort of the same for you, or you sort of managed to take in the sight?
Still try and soak it up for sure. I didn't. Yeah, I was going to go pre-ride Nana, but I never got to. I didn't have the bike, but yeah, it was spectacular, and all old forestry. It's an old forestry town, and they've stopped logging altogether. So they're going to leave it as a national park. But the logging roads there were amazing, really smooth, wide, made for trucks, and basically no one else used them besides bike riders. And they have a big rally there once a year. You can see why the rally would be so good. Yeah, it's beautiful, and had all low-lying fog, like in the valleys. So a lot of time we're above that cloud, and yeah, super nice area to ride. I've ridden like around Margaret River, like Pemberton on the mountain bike before, and it's one of my favourite places. Yeah.
A couple of listeners from the podcast have told me I've got to get over there and have a ride. Yep. So I'm keen to it.
The world champs will be huge there. You could just you can only imagine.
Yeah, that'll be something to look forward to.
Yeah.
All right, so you're over in the States right now. You're competing in some of the biggest gravel races in the world. Can you share the story of how this all came to be?
Yeah. So you have to apply. So I'm doing the Lifetime Grand Prix series. It was his first year last year, and basically last year they selected 25 athletes that can compete for a series which has $250,000 prize money, and the series encompasses basically the 7 biggest races in the US, biggest off-road races, and that's mountain bike and gravel. And selection only. And towards the end of last year, they put out, you can put an application in, and you basically have to fill out like a resume. What would I do for cycling in the US? How am I different to old mates' results or this and that? And you kind of got to sell yourself. And in December, like last year, I found out I got in, and they increased it to 35 for this year, and still the same 7 races basically. And I was a little bit surprised to get in, to be honest. I was going to plan to go to the US anyway and do some racing, but then I got in, and basically once you're in, you've got to commit to doing at least 5 rounds. And to do 5 rounds, like I'm doing 6 here, and that's going to be me in the US, myself and my girlfriend in the US for 5 months. So you got to commit to doing basically the whole thing. And they're all like 3 weeks apart, I guess, most of the races, and in all different states. So lots of traveling. But the exposure this series got last year, like they did a documentary on it, and I guess probably outside like the world tour, it's probably like the most looked at race series. And to get in, it's obviously pretty exciting. And coming over here and racing Unbound as the first race was just amazing. This is the amount of media and exposure the race gets, and it was pretty intimidating, really. It's kind of like being at a World Cup again, except you're not an under 23, kind of in the elite ranks.
Yeah, so the Lifetime Grand Prix, for those who aren't aware, I guess road cycling and other sort of forms of cycling in the US have gone through a pretty tough period. Sort of events are getting cancelled, and there's not much left. Even the sort of the top end Tour of California, which used to be their premier road cycling events, has sort of died over the last few years. But in that space that's been left, gravel and marathon mountain biking is having a real revival, and gravel racing seems to be sort of the biggest form of cycling that currently exists over in the US, and this Lifetime Grand Prix is really showcasing some of those premier events. So as you said, they've got 35 male, 35 female athletes competing across these 7 events. Yeah, and I think, the fact that this is the premier cycling event in one of the biggest countries in the world just shows how elite you are to be included in those 35 athletes. So congrats for getting in. And it's been really exciting to see quite a few Aussies make that list this year. So who else have you got over there racing in the Lifetime with you?
We've got Trekkie, Brennan Johnson, and then Ella Bloor. We have Lockie Morton as well. And then there's Ryan Standich. He's like dual citizen, a good friend of mine. He's also half Aussie, half American. Yeah,
it's great to have Australian cyclists recognised to get into that sort of creme de la creme of gravel cycling. So that's great. I saw you put on YouTube, you've got your own Lifetime Grand Prix trading card. Is that a realisation of a childhood dream?
Oh, I don't know. It's just pretty funny. Obviously pretty cool. I think my girlfriend was most excited about it. You get like a baseball card about you, which is pretty cool. Like a picture on the front and some fun facts on the back side. And even doing they're trying to create, because they're mass participation events. Unbound 4,000 people ride, Leadville something similar. The others are all huge as well. They're trying to increase fan engagement. So I've got my baseball cards, and there's signing sessions and things like that at some of the events, and they'll try and incorporate you in some local things in the town where it's like a school kids ride or something like that while we're here, which is actually really, really, really cool. You want to be involved in that kind of stuff, and it's pretty funny to have those cards and
something to show the grandkids maybe.
Yeah. Very funny.
So the first race of the series was the Sea Otter Classic back in April, but you obviously didn't make it over to the States for that one. Was that sort of it was just going to be too long a trip if you'd gone to that first race?
I could have flown and come back, but just the expense, and there wasn't really much racing around there. I could have hung around for, and I was stretching with work enough as it was. This way, I've got 6 races in 5 months, and Sea Otter was, a good month and a half before all these events. So it would have been a fly home, fly there and back. And I'm denied about going, but committed to just doing the 6 events.
Yeah, fair enough. And is it sort of the top 4 of results that you get count, or top 5?
Top 5.
Top 5.
Yeah.
So you can.
I can still drop one. Hopefully that was Unbound.
Yeah, we'll get to your experience out there. I think a lot of people had a tough day last weekend. Yeah. Before we get to that, I just want to chat about this trailer setup that you've got. We sort of mentioned that you're traveling around to some of these events, and I saw you posted on YouTube a bit of coverage on your setup. So tell us how you're living over there.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite video I've got on YouTube. Forget the racing; it's the buying and building a trailer. So we flew into Kansas City, and like months beforehand, like I wanted to buy a trailer because I got a ute off I call them trucks here. I got a truck off a friend, Ryan, who lives here in America. He's just loaned it to me. So it's a Toyota Tacoma, big V6 thing. It's got a bed in the back of it already. It's just over 6 foot long, the tray, so I can just fit in it diagonally. And we wanted to buy a trailer so we can fit all the stuff in the back. So we talked to this guy who was on Facebook Marketplace, a deal that, bought and swapped and sold trailers. And this friendly man, Mike, hooked us up with a new trailer. We bought it the day before Unbound. And so this trailer, I've got all the bikes in the back. I put some shelving in, got a shoe rack in the back, and just decked it out basically so it's home on wheels. And then the ute as well. We put some shelving in the space cab section, and in between racing, we'll be sleeping when we're traveling, and then at some of the events, we'll be sleeping in the back of the ute. Yeah, just living out of the trailer as well. Got a gas burner, got a shower in the bag, got a big water jug. We lived out of it for last week. We've been camping for a week, and actually pretty good. We're working on little efficiencies as well. We made the mattress a bit thicker, and just little things like that. We keep chipping away, but yeah, it's pretty comfortable.
The hashtag gravel van life. I think that's half the fun of these events. I think it's become a bit of a thing, all these gravel races traveling around the country in various sort of kit out vans and trailers and RVs. And
taking the mickey because a lot of the pro setups have full RVs and things, and I've got my ute and trailer. It's quite funny doing the
Aussies keeping it real. Yep.
Yeah.
Just before we get on to Unbound, I just want to talk some tech. Those who know you from your mountain bike racing career probably be used to seeing you on the Merida bikes, but you've recently got a pretty sweet new gravel bike. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I've been on the BMC kayaks for 3 months now. I was sponsored by Advanced Traders, who bring in both Merida and BMC. And Advanced obviously got a new BMC, and I'm doing more gravel, and they asked if I wanted to go across, and it's been wicked riding BMC. BMC is kind of like one of those dream bikes you always dream of riding, and the Kayaks is a pretty damn good bike. I could almost use it as my road bike, and even at home, it's the bike I'm going to the most, jack of all trades, and also with that, BMC has a bit of a presence in the USA, and even for the Unbound weekend, I was able to stay with BMC International, and they help out in the feed zone as well. So it's been a really good thing getting on board with BMC, and hopefully we can get some further support with them as well.
So that bike has a reputation, as you say, being very sort of racy, almost road bike-like.
Yeah.
I think that would probably put off a few people because they might be looking for something that might be a bit more forgiving perhaps on technical stuff. As someone with a mountain bike background, do you find that to be an issue, or do you think you've got the sort of the base skills to get that sort of bike through the really technical stuff anyway?
I found it technically really good, better than previous gravel bikes I've had. Yeah, because it's got a bit more drop to the handlebar. Some of the other bikes are too high at the front for me, and you can't put any weight on the front wheel, but it's just aggressive geometry, and you can still run big tires in it. Yeah, I found it technically really good. It's I can be I've definitely found I could become more aggressive on the gravel descents on the kayaks.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's pretty compliant as well. I haven't found any issue with the small bumps or hitting braking bumps and things like that on any gravel bike's a terrible time. But yeah, I've noticed. It's still an absolute rocket, and it's compliant on the ground. Sure.
Are you running the 36 centimeter wide bars? That was sort of the big thing when that bike launched, is they were specking it with
Yeah.
really narrow handlebars. Are you running those ones, or you've gone for something a bit wider?
I've got Shimano, the Pro bars, and they're really good. They're 38 in the hoods, and then they got a 20-degree flare, and the flare takes them to like, I think it's like 40 or something at the drops.
Yeah, still pretty
So when
narrow,
you're
right?
descending, got the widest, yeah, and then the top's 38. Yeah, still on the narrower side, but yeah, I think it's a happy medium. 36 is probably too small for me. I don't like that twitchiness too much, especially coming from the mountain bike background when you got
Yeah,
740 mil bars.
used to having the shoulders pretty open.
Yeah, but yeah, it's all about error and things like that as well. So a little bit narrower is definitely faster.
One other thing that intrigues me about gravel races is that a lot of them seem to stick with their road pedals and cleats. What do you have a preference there? Do you go with the mountain bike style?
I've gone branch mountain bike style for I've trained with my road cleats around town and like around home, and yeah, it's been fine. You get a bit it's a bit stiffer and things like that. But for racing, it's just you never know what's going to come up, and
Seems a bit optimistic, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, it's optimistic. If the conditions are perfect, no worries, and you know you don't have to get off your bike, then ride road shoes. That's fine. But yeah, there's a gravel race. Things are going to happen. You can't control all conditions, so that's where mountain bike shoes they're definitely better.
all right, let's get on to Unbound. How was the lead up to the race? Did you get a chance to enjoy the spectacle of the event much?
I did, but I was bloody busy. Didn't have time to be nervous one bit, just because we were on the go. Like I landed 5 days beforehand. I spent like the 2 days before the event. We were staying an hour away, so we had to kind of travel in each day. Yeah, the first 2 days before the race were just manic, just meeting some of my sponsors. Did a few did like a charity day, like luncheon with Shimano, had like a dinner with Pirelli, which is like, and people were so nice and helpful. I've been emailing these sponsors and months beforehand, teeing up, meeting them or starting these relationships, and it's just a matter of meeting everyone before the race and showing them my face. So we're doing all that and lead up to the race, and then obviously building your bike, making sure it's okay. I was getting my truck, and then the day before the race, I was buying a trailer, which still made it quite busy. The night beforehand, I was still just doing all the nutrition planning, things like that. So the build up was busy, and the week before that, I'd raced marathon national champs in Wagga Wagga. So it was just manic, absolutely manic, and I had to be like planned to the T to get to achieve all this, like to do marathon national champs in Wagga Wagga. And then I drove from Wagga Wagga to Melbourne, flew out the next morning after the race, and then had 5 days till Unbound. Yeah. Gosh. It's been manic building up to that, and then the whole week was pretty busy.
At least your bike made it, right, this time.
Yeah, bike made it. And I was still like, there's nothing, like I was fully prepared by the time I was on the start line. There was no excuses. I was over jet lag and ready to go. Preparation was all done.
Very good. Did you have a strategy in terms of how you wanted to execute your race plan?
I was pretty open to adjusting it on the fly. I just wanted to be mindful. Like I was confident I could be in the front bunch, but then I've never, raced that long duration before. So it was like I was in two minds of whether you push to stay in the front bunch, just go all in and see what happens, or hang back a fraction and then pick up scraps later on in the race. So basically, all planning went out the window when we hit the first mud section. And just turned to chaos, and then everyone was just scrambling for the next 10 hours or so.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about that mud section. You seem to have got through it okay, though, from what I could tell.
I was probably I probably got through it one of the best out of anyone.
Yeah, wow.
Like I come out of it shocked that I was that far in front. I think it was me. I was literally with Keegan Svensson at the end of the mud section.
How did you manage that? Did you take the grass, or you were just sort of in good position?
Really early.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in mid pack, kind of coming into the first mud, and I just watched everyone in front of me slowing down, like just basically the peanut butter getting caught in the tires. And I did pre-ride that section the day before and went, oh, like this is bad. And I kind of already eyed off the grass, and yeah, I got in the grass super early, and I was probably like 100th wheel, like, or maybe like our peloton was 200 deep or whatever it was. That's just mid pack, and yeah, I just followed the grass the whole time and just kept overtaking people, and people were having a bad time with their wheels not turning anymore in the mud, and derailleurs wrapped up and things like that. And I just stuck to the grass the whole way, even when it looked like it was having like the mud had cleared. I still kind of stuck to the grass. And I think that mountain bike background certainly helped. Other people couldn't ride the camber because it's still camber and grass, things like that. Yeah, and I popped out probably like 30K into the race, and it was me, Keegan, like all the big hitters. And I turned around and you couldn't see anyone behind me. And I hadn't used much energy, and it's kind of like the dream run, really.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you reckon Keegan had any idea who you were?
No.
Probably looking around to see who his big competition was after all that, and he's got this guy from Australia there.
Yeah, he's probably real worried. He's unknown guy with him. Yeah, dream run really, and then.
But then after that, it sort of turned to shit a bit, did it?
Yeah, real quickly. 40K in. We started so I just basically just stayed where I was, and people kept coming across. All the big hitters started coming across, and we come to like a bunch of 20 or so. And then 40K in, slashed my rear tire, put a plug in it. It's a big hole. It's probably like a half an inch or so. And then put 2 plugs in it, and then they just fell out. And also it was right in a sidewall, and there was so much mud already in the bike that, like in the frame, that the plugs would hit the mud or the side or the frame and fall out. So then I put a wrapper in my tire, put a tube in, played the tube, then got like 10K down the road, and the tube went. And then I was out of CO2s. I literally was trying to find my hand pump in the morning. That was just my mistake, just not taking a hand pump. Always take a hand pump if anyone wants to do Unbound in the future. And basically I was screwed. I had 2 tubes. I put the second tube in, but I was just waiting for someone to give me a CO2 or to get a hand pump. I was probably waiting there for like 10, 15 minutes. And then Matt Bird come across, another fellow Aussie. He had a hand pump. He plugged his tires like 3 times for me. So he waited with me, pumped up my tire, and we rode together for we rode together to the next feed zone. But that period from then to the feed zone, he had maybe 3 flat tires, just cutting his tire. I had another flat tire. We took like 30K, probably took us like 2 hours. It was just hellish.
Yeah. I saw your video again on YouTube. You rolled into that pit stop with the tire inserts wrapped around your neck. Mm-hmm. So running inserts would usually give you some decent protection against those sidewall cuts, yep. But even that wasn't any match for the flint rocks.
No, the more frustrating part was you weren't even hitting any. The rocks weren't, it wasn't like rough aero particularly, but they're just really sharp rocks. So you'll just skim over something and then cut your tire. It wasn't. It's almost surprising, which is quite frustrating. And Matt Bird and I, we were working together super well, swapping turns, yada, yada, just catching people. But then we'd get a flat tire, we'd stick together to change it together, get passed by the same people we just overtook. And then that just kept happening over and over again. Until we got to that first feed. And I kept my tire insert on me just in case, the worst case scenario was that I put the tire insert in and I can still ride it to the next feed zone or next checkpoint and get another tube or CO2. For me, not finishing wasn't really an option when I've already dropped one of the lifetime races. So I've only got 6 out of 7 I'm competing in, and every point kind of counts. So getting to each checkpoint was very important. And I got to that first checkpoint, 120K odd, and I collected 4 more CO2s, collected another 2 tubes, and I was super lucky. I had my girlfriend there, give me all my nutrition, and then I also had the support of the BMC international team, and they took my bike away, pressure hosed it, lubed the chain, and the bike just felt like 10K an hour faster after that.
It was almost like a Formula One pit stop. It was sort of
yeah. So that's so lucky to have. Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of other people, so like Matt Bird, you pay for support. So you pay like $300 to pay for the team to look after him.
Gosh.
Which is just another world, isn't it?
So you mentioned Matt Bird there. Obviously a pretty big contingent of Aussies down at the race this year. Some blokes I'm guessing you know pretty well. Some maybe ex-World Tour pros you maybe haven't had a chance to race with before. Was there a bit of Aussie camaraderie between you guys? So were you sort of all very focused on your own race?
Yeah, there's always good camaraderie, but it's hard to find each other. Once we got to that mud section, I saw Trekkie once. Trekkie's trailer went. He lost all his gears early on. So Adam Blazovic, but he pulled out later on. It's good camaraderie, but that race was so manic that you didn't know where each other were. Like obviously Matt Bird and I worked well together. Yeah, it's good to have the Aussies there, but I think the next few races we'll see more of each other. Well, hopefully not all. Don't know what will happen.
So just heading back to that mud, there was a lot of discussion about whether the organisation perhaps should have rerouted around that section. Do you have an opinion on that?
No, I think it was just how it was. I think for the elite field, you just got to suck it up. Like that's there to race and whatever. The only people I feel sorry for is the general population because the bike damage was ridiculous.
I was listening to the Escape Collective guys last week, and they were talking about how just like the damage that was done to frames and components just from all that mud. Like this whole group sets have got to be binned and frames that have, pretty much beyond repair. How'd your stuff go? I guess you got through the mud okay, so maybe not too bad.
Yeah. Well, then it poured down rain later on, and because I was out there for so long, then the mud come back as a factor. So there, but I thought 60K to go. I was like, you beauty. At this stage, I had 6 flat tires and 60K to go. Hit the last speed zone. It had poured down rain before that. I thought 60K to go. Let's just bring it home, and then 5K from the last checkpoint, still 50K to go. We hit this another mud section, which was just like the first one, basically. And you just look up and there's just hundreds of people pushing their bikes to the grass or carrying their bikes above their head. Because that stage we hit a lot of the 100 milers, the shorter distance. So this is never ending really in some ways. Like the middle portion, it was one day, but it felt like a week kind of thing. It was boiling hot, and then it was pouring rain and freezing. And then it was mud either end of the start and end of the race. And then, my gear stopped working with 40K to go. So I was stuck in the 50-11, the last 40K.
Jesus.
Yeah. And no, it wasn't flat DI2. It's just the derailleur stopped shifting.
A few low cadence, high torque efforts going up some of those hills. Yep.
Oh, yeah. I was super lucky that it was literally flat until there's a climb with about 500 meters to go. And otherwise, it was pretty flat, and I could just survive grinding out of the saddle. Yeah. And at that point, it was just about getting home, just getting to the finish line. And this was probably my only win of the day, but probably literally 5K to go. I was in a group of 3, and I was basically sitting on the back because I was stuck in that big gear, just trying to get home. And this guy goes past, and he looked pretty quick. And then the people I was riding with asked one of them, I said, "Oh, do you reckon that guy's in the Grand Prix?" And they're like, "Yeah, he is, yeah." I was like, "Oh, no way am I going to give up, after all this, just let a guy roll away without a fight." So I chased him down and caught him at the base of this climb, which is really close. The only climb basically into town. And I had to zigzag up the climb, zigzag, and he dropped me again, obviously. I zigzag and literally just made up without stopping. But I just wound up the gear because you descend down into town. Just wound up the gear as fast as I could. And I literally just passed him right in the line. And I was going 20K an hour faster than him.
Good work. You got to finish.
He had no idea what I was even sprinting for. I don't think he wouldn't know if I was in a series or anything. I was like, "Oh, that's just one extra point, I guess."
Oh, you got to take everything you can get.
Little wins, yeah. So
just to recap your day out, 329 kilometres. You're out there for nearly 11 and a half hours. 28.9 kilometre per hour average speed. So still not hanging around over that sort of distance. That's pretty impressive. Almost 4,000 metres of elevation gain. And I noticed you managed to snag a KOM on Strava on one of the segments out there. So that's something to be pretty proud of when 4,000 people have gone through on the day. So well done.
I didn't even notice.
How did you pull up after that?
Actually, surprisingly, wasn't that bad. Not good, but not that bad. I think it's the sign of the preparation. I guess I didn't ride I did basically 3 days off. Not that bad. Sore lower back, as you'd expect. just particularly riding a big gear for so long, but no, not too bad at all. And this whole week, I've just done easy endurance. Basically, haven't put any aggression on the pedals whatsoever. I've driven from Kansas to Colorado now, and now I'm at altitude. So I'm at home here at 1,800 meters, and I can climb up to 3,000 pretty easy. So also just taking it easy in the altitude, and we'll probably start training. Yeah, basically from tomorrow I'll start training properly again. But yeah, surprisingly not too bad.
I wanted to ask you about the altitude. So some of the races coming up, the next one in the series is Crusher in the Tusher. So that's in Beaver in Utah on the 8th of July. It's a much shorter race than Unbound. I think it's only about 115 kilometers, but probably one of the more climby races in the series. I think they've got over 3,000 meters of climbing. There's a couple of big alpine climbs there and a mountaintop finish. Yep. And some of the altitudes you're hitting there are sort of over 3,000 meters above sea level. The race after that is Leadville 100, which is sort of famed for also being a very climby race, but also at huge elevation. So the lowest point of that race is at 2,800 meters above sea level and rises to 3,800 meters above sea level. So just for a bit of context, the highest point in this year's Tour de France is the Col de la Loze at 2,300 meters. So that Leadville race, 100-mile mountain bike race, and it's all happening at altitudes above the highest point of the Tour de France. So obviously altitude is going to be a significant factor in some of these races. You're from Bendigo. I think it's, I just had a look, 213 meters above sea level. Yeah. Do you have a plan for how you're going to manage competing at such high elevations?
Yeah. I'm basically staying high now until Leadville. So Leadville's like I was a month and a half away. But yeah, I'm at Boulder, Colorado now. It's 800. I can get kind of up to close to 3,000. I rode yesterday and I spent like 2 hours up at, 2,500 meters. And I could definitely feel it. Like you just feel, you just don't have the same power and, light dizziness even. But yeah, I'll stay here in Boulder for 2.5 weeks, and then I go towards Crusher, and that's still quite high there. But then pre Leadville as well, I've scored another house sitting. My girlfriend managed to apply and got another house we're going to look after in Breckenridge, which is at 3,000 meters. So basically, all you can do is try and live at the altitude, and hopefully, say 3 weeks for adaptation, and should at least have a fair bit of time. Previously, I've only really raced at pure altitude once before. I've done the Andorra World Cup, and I tried to do, so like they say, you either stay up there for a long time or you come in and shock the body. You do it on the same day. And I raced the Andorra World Cup. I come from sea level, and I had the worst ride ever. Like 250 watts was a lot. But I think hopefully have that time to prepare, which is a good thing to have. It's all we can do, really.
That'll be interesting to see how you go.
Yeah.
Those events, as I said, they've got a lot of climbing in them. Based on your past results, I think it's fair to say you're a pretty strong climber. Are these sort of the events you've had your eye on for a good result, the ones that have a bit more climbing in them?
Yeah, certainly. I'm certainly a natural climber, and even their shorter duration as well. Unbound for me was just like, it's one of the races I just wanted to get it done. And whatever happens. But I think I like, the 4-hour mark is good for me. It's a bit more aggressive. I like that proper racing, like rather than a war on nutrition. This will, it can be quite aggressive. And lots of long climbs. I probably prefer shorter climbs, shorter punchy ones, but it should be fine. Tusher and Crusher's 2 basically 1-hour climbs. So we don't really even have that in Australia, but definitely looking forward to them. Particularly Leadville. I mean, that's a race. Growing up, that's one of the first mountain bike races I've ever heard of, really. So it's pretty surreal to be there and hopefully be in contention.
Oh, we'll definitely be following along. We might have to get you back at the end of the series to give us a wrap on how it all went.
Yeah, sure.
So there's 5 more races on the calendar. 2 of them are marathon mountain bike and 3 more gravel events. Is Leadville the one you're looking forward to the most, or is there another one that's on your radar?
They're all unknown, so it's pretty hard to say. I think Leadville's definitely the most iconic one coming up, and that's the one people know. Like we've said, the 2 biggest races in the series are definitely Unbound and Leadville. I've heard really good things about the last one, Bentonville, Big Sugar. That's quite like a lot of short, punchy climbs. I think that should suit me well, but it's all unknown for me, and I'll enjoy each challenge. And it's nice to have a new, completely fresh calendar as well. Yeah, it's all exciting, really.
Yeah, it's very, very exciting. Tasman, thanks for coming on. Before we go, I know it's sort of early on in your trip, but do you reckon you'll be back next year to try and do it all again?
All right, if it's successful, yeah, for sure. I want to have some. Well, the main thing is I need support behind me, and that's kind of monetary support. Product wise, I'm all good, but yeah, basically all I'm doing is using my savings at the moment. And 5 months over here it's super expensive in the US at the moment. Our dollar's pretty poor. But yeah, hopefully this is the land of opportunity, and we can build something from here and can come back for sure.
Does have you found that being part of the Lifetime Grand Prix has opened up new sponsorship opportunities for you? Like, has it been easy to attract a bit more sponsorship with that Lifetime Grand Prix athlete sort of stamp on your resume?
Certainly. Brands kind of want to be in it, which is such such an easy selling point. Yeah, I'm not selling like that I'm going to race in Australia, like in some certain race in Australia, there's no exposure whatsoever. This is a big exposure event that's known worldwide, and to say you're a part of that series is a good selling point. And yeah, it's certainly helped with sponsors, and everyone even just coming over here has just been so supportive. And whatever you need, they'll like my sponsors will help me out. So it's it's fantastic, and yeah, certainly appreciate all the support I've got so far. And
do you want to give them a quick shout out?
Yeah, so I'm with Advanced Traders, so I've got BMC and Merida Bikes, Ride 100%, Hammer Nutrition, Quare, Clothing, and Shimano Australia and Shimano US. They're my biggest supporters.
Very good. And how can people follow along if they're keen to see what you're up to and how the races are going?
Nice. Instagram, Tasman_Nan. And then I've got a website as well, TasmanNankervis.com, where I put some blog write-ups there. Try to do a write-up after each major race, and now I'm dabbling in YouTube as well. So
yeah, Tasman Nankervis, the content creator as well.
Yeah. I'm trying to hit all bases here. It's funny, like I stopped, like I'm also not working now, and now I have all this time. And it's just like shit. I can, I'm just may as well make some content, I guess.
Yeah, very good. I've been enjoying it so far. So keep it up.
Thank you.
Tasman, thanks very much for joining us, and yeah, best of luck for the rest of the series.
Thank you, Tristan. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure.
What a great bloke. Like no tickets on himself, despite what he has achieved. So down to earth. Wishing him all the best for the rest of the Lifetime Grand Prix, and yeah, he's doing a great job flying the flag for the Aussies over in the US. So if you want to follow along, as Taz said there, you can follow him on YouTube or Instagram. And if you're interested in learning more about the Lifetime Grand Prix series, there's a great documentary on YouTube called Call of a Lifetime. So you can, search that one up and get a bit more of a sense of what these races are all about. You can also catch highlights of the 7 gravel race that we discussed there over in Nanap, and you can get them at the Press Room Podcast on YouTube. So, another shout out to Jethro Nagel over at the Press Room Podcast, and he put together a great highlights package for that race. As always, you can follow us on Instagram, and also hoping to have a little bit of content dropping into the YouTube channel soon, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of that. Don't forget, you can also become a supporter of the show by following the link at the bottom of the show notes, and would be really appreciative for any support you're able to give. This is definitely a little independent project, and it's still not quite covering its costs, so if you can help us out there, that would be wonderful. With that, school's out here in Victoria, so I'm heading straight from here, chucking the Canyon Grail on the roof of the car, heading down to the Surf Coast for the week, and looking forward to getting in some quality early morning, midwinter Otway gravel rides. So I think I'm going to pack the ski gloves for this one, because I've been a bit caught out a couple of times at this time of year, and definitely had some cold fingers. So ski gloves will be in the bag. But if you want to see what we're up to, you can always chuck us a follow on Strava, and if anyone's down that way and keen for a ride, get in touch, and we'll see what we can do. So that's it for today. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll catch you next time on the Gravel Cycling Australia podcast.